So one of the things that is buried in a lot of the ideology here, for Democrats particularly, is a soft bigotry of low expectations. About Americans generally, you're not capable of making your own decisions. But specifically, there is a soft bigotry of low expectations that attends to minority communities in the Democratic Party, right? The same motivating factor from people like Jamal Bowman of New York, Democrat of New York, who says standardized testing is racist, attends when it comes to vaccines. And we have seen a tremendous amount of vaccine hesitancy, unfortunately, in the Black and Hispanic community. And there's a wide differential by race in how people are looking at the vaccine. By poll data, some 59% of white people say they definitely will get the vaccine, and another 20% say they will probably get the vaccine, which means that grand total 79% of white Americans say they definitely will or probably will get the vaccine. Okay, Black America, only 67% of Black Americans say they definitely will get the vaccine or probably get the vaccine. And by the way, only 37% say they definitely will get the vaccine, which means that fully 33% of Black Americans say they either probably or definitely will not get the vaccine, compared to only 21% of white people who say they won't get the vaccine, and only 21% of Hispanic people who say they won't get the vaccine. So the Black community has tremendous vaccine hesitancy. Okay, that is a real problem. And yet the answer by the left is that is a shortcoming of government distribution. Okay, that is not correct. If there is differential behavior and differential viewpoints about vaccines, then that is individual behavior. And yet the idea here is that if you are that it's only white, I mean, remember that Michael Moore text, right? The Michael Moore tweet was, if you're a Texan, you don't deserve to get the vaccine because you're a COVID denier. Okay, he would never say that about people who are literally refusing to get the vaccine. Why? Because for him, the question, there's a soft bigotry that is inherent in leftist thought that suggests that if a white person makes a bad decision, it's on the white person. But if a Black person makes a bad decision, then it is because the system is racist. Okay, that is not correct. We should be encouraging everyone to make good decisions. This is why all of the tomfoolery about the vaccine rollout is a mistake. We should be giving the vaccine to anyone who will take it at any point at this point. There are many, many vaccines out there. Tranching out vaccines based on quote unquote equity is a foolhardy game. Okay, instead, what we should be doing is making it available to anyone who wants one, and we should be actively encouraging people to get one, not writing op-eds in the New York Times like Charles Blow, talking about why Black people are hesitant about vaccines, but encouraging Black people to get vaccines, encouraging everybody to go get the vaccine today. And yet again, there is that generalized idea that the government must be in complete control. They must mandate things because you can't take care of yourself. But they'll only talk about a certain type of person who is COVID scared or COVID shy. Right? It's an obvious point and an ugly point. But people on the left will only talk about COVID shyness when it comes to white Americans. They will not talk about COVID shyness when it comes to minority Americans, even though the percentages are greater among minority Americans. I mean, why? You know who should be being ripped up and down right now? Not Greg Abbott for saying that people should not be forced to wear masks by the centralized government because they are capable of making their own decisions. The people who should be ripped up and down right now are people like Louis Farrakhan, who's literally going out there and telling his millions of followers that the COVID vaccine is a vial of death. Have you seen any media coverage of this? If a major conservative figure who had met with a bunch of members of Congress were out there literally telling people that the COVID vaccine was a vial of death, you know that would be at the front of every single newspaper, right? Conservatives deny vaccine efficacy. And yet here was Louis Farrakhan doing just that. Democratic members of Congress have met with this guy. They continue to meet with this guy. Have you seen a headline about this? Here's Louis Farrakhan, who has many, many followers, talking about how the COVID vaccine is a vial of death.
Some of these so-called vaccines, you know, it's the nanoparticles that men like Dr. Fauci have proprietary knowledge of that allows them to get a patent for their vial of death.
I mean, how is that not the headline, right? I mean, seriously, that should be the headline. You want to talk about overcoming COVID? We should be talking about vaccine hesitancy. By the way, encouraged for months by people like Kamala Harris, who literally said that she would not get a vaccine just if Trump told her to. I mean, this sort of stuff has an actual impact. And if you look by race and ethnicity at why people are not getting the vaccine, right, that you can see the reasons why people aren't getting the vaccine, what you will see is that among Black Americans, a disproportionate number of Black Americans don't trust the COVID-19 vaccine. And a disproportionate number of black Americans are concerned about the side effects and they plan to wait and see whether it is safe. And yet the idea here is that it's a problem with the distribution system. What if it's not a problem with the distribution system? If the reason that the left wants centralized control is because they want control over people, then they really should be clear about why they want control over people. Because right now, they tend to blame the system whenever individual choices are made they don't like from people who are allies of theirs, but they blame the individual people when they're people who they don't like, who don't believe like they do, politically speaking. This is ugly stuff. The soft bigotry of low expectations, by the way, completely infuses the Democratic Party at this point. And you want to talk about Democrat-run cities that have soft bigotry of low expectations? This story came across my desk this morning from Fox Baltimore. A shocking discovery out of a Baltimore City high school where Project Baltimore has found hundreds of students are failing. It's a school where a student who passed 3 classes in 4 years, 3 classes in 4 years, not 3 years in 4 years, 3 classes in 4 years, ranks near the top half of his class with a 0.13 grade point average. Tiffany France thought her son would receive his diploma this coming June, but after 4 years of high school, France just learned her 17-year-old must start over. He's been moved back to 9th grade. He's stressed and I am too. I told him I'm probably going to start crying. I don't know what to do, France told Project Baltimore. Why would he do 3 more years in school? He didn't fail. The school failed him. The school failed at their job. He didn't deserve that. France's son attends Augusta Fells Savage Institute of Visual Arts in West Baltimore. His transcripts show he's passed just 3 classes in 4 years, placing him in 9th grade. But she didn't know that until February. She thought her oldest son was doing well because even though he failed most of his classes, they kept promoting him. His transcript showed he failed Spanish 1 and Algebra 1, was promoted to Spanish 2 and Algebra 2. He failed English 2, was passed on to English 3. In his first 3 years at Augusta Fells, the student failed 22 classes and was late or absent on 272 days. In those 3 years, only 1 teacher requested a parent conference, which France says never happened. No one from the school told France her son was failing and not going to class. By the way, he's still above half of his class. He's ranked 62nd in his class after passing 3 classes in a grand total of 4 years. Half of his classmates, 58 of them, have a 0.13 grade point average or lower. Okay, how is it that this is not considered a great crisis in America? And we're going to focus on woke idiocy about canceling Dr. Seuss, but we're not going to focus on stuff that actually betters people's lives. We're not going to focus on individual responsibility because here's the thing, individual freedom comes with individual responsibility. We're not even going to focus on true systems of power that degrade the lives of individuals. Nope, we're going to focus on how we can force you to wear a mask, even though that actually is a risk assessment you yourself should be doing, and who we should blame, namely the people of Texas, who we should not blame, namely people who are political allies of Democrats. People's lives actually matter. And the best way to ensure that people live good lives is to place the individual responsibility that comes with freedom upon them. And yet we have an entire system that is built to do precisely the opposite. Precisely the opposite. And instead, we just keep ripping on the system, keep ripping on that system and claiming that centralized government is going to be the solution. Facts don't care about your feelings, and it's a fact that The Ben Shapiro Show is the largest conservative podcast in the nation. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our content.